We jump to verse 25, but right before that, Daniel begins kind of sharing. He gives the king a little bit of a mini sermon, pretty much telling him off. And if you look at the dream, it kind of has to do with the dream that you'll see a few chapters later in Daniel, where the kingdom is being taken from him. And literally, that's the word that was written by God's hand. All right, and so verse 25 says this, and this is and we're skipping the mini sermon that Daniel mentioned, the word that he had for the king. We're skipping that part and jumping to the interpretation of what the writing on the wall was. It says, and this is the inscription that was written, many, many tekel upharsin. Verse 26, this is the interpretation of each word, many. God has numbered your kingdom and finished it. Verse 27, tekel, you have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. 28, Peres, your kingdom has been divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Verse 29, then Belshazzar gave the command and clothed Daniel with purple and put a chain of gold around his neck and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. That very night Belshazzar, king of Chaldeans, was slain. That very night. And Darius the Mede received the kingdom, being about 62 years old. That very night. So think about this. At the end of this kingship, Daniel literally comes and rises to the very top once again. Daniel, who was brought down, he was at the top, and then here comes a roller coaster, comes back down, forgotten. And now all of a sudden at the very end comes back on top, and now what? Now is the transition of leadership. This whole thing was about transitioning. I'll tell you, Daniel is the king of transitions. Let me say it again. Daniel is the king of transitions. Church, we need to be a king and a son of the king and a daughter of the king when it comes to transitions. Transitions in leadership, transitions in life. Daniel knew how to hold his peace. Daniel knew when to release something. Daniel knew when it was time to come about and to reveal things or not reveal things. Now, let me go back for a second, because this was not the first time Daniel was forgotten. If you go back in Daniel chapter 2, you see when there was the interpretation that the king wanted to have Nebuchadnezzar now wanted to have his dream interpreted. He called for all the astrologers, all the wise men. Do you know who was not there when he called for them? Daniel. Daniel and his 3 friends. All the other wise men, says all the wise men came, and Nebuchadnezzar was telling them about what was going to happen to them if they did not tell him what the dream was and the interpretation. That's in Daniel 2, going back a few messages there. So again, Daniel was forgotten in that initial calling in when things came in. Yet when it came time and they were about to come kill Daniel for something he didn't even know, Daniel had the wisdom, the pause, the tactness to just say, hey, hold on, what's going on? And he made that appeal to the king and was able to just stay off the death threats of the king for all of the wise men that were there. All right, now let's jump ahead. We're going to talk about this next week. All right, when it came to King Darius, Daniel was forgotten again, where all of a sudden King Darius made a decree about something, and that decree literally went directly against Daniel.